Hi. So, magazine looks like this when it comes. Um, we're studying on money, stewardship, and generosity. So the first session is on page. You guys just have it. It's on page 12. For those who are following along. I do like her choices on songs, so they're pretty ones. So, should we do the opening prayer? Okay.
Before the world began, before mountains arose or rivers flowed, before houses were built or coins were minted, before accounting and spreadsheets and bank deposits, before all of that, there was you, Lord God. Make us attentive to your holy scriptures and to each other. Keep us mindful of your immensity and confident of your love and redemption, regardless of our net worth on paper or in the eyes of the world. You are our treasure, and we are forever yours, O Christ our Lord. Amen.
Ooh, I like that prayer. That's very nice. Okay, so the session one, money, what do we treasure is the title. So she has the introduction here. I love this. Time, talent, treasure. But the greatest of these is treasure.
It sounds like a October, November.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Chances are you recognize that the sentence above is not from the Bible, especially if you think of treasure as financial wealth. After all, treasure or wealth is not highly valued in the Bible or among the spiritually minded. Or is it? So we're going to skip these questions. We're just going to go on. Scripture mentions money surprisingly often. According to the Tithely, an online giving platform used by many churches, biblical references to money, possessions, and wealth are more numerous than references to love, faith, or prayer. Consider the statistics. More than 2,000 Bible passages refer to money, possessions, and tithing. 16 of Jesus' 38 parables deal explicitly with money and the use of material wealth. The word gold is used 545 times in the Bible. Silver is mentioned 385 times. By comparison, the word prayer is used 254 times. I know. That's really not good, is it? Okay. Jesus refers to money and material possessions more often than he does to heaven or hell. It makes sense. After all, Jesus lived as a real human in a real material world with all its needs, wants, inequities, and joys. For instance, growing up, Jesus would have known his parents were too poor to afford the usual temple sacrifice of a lamb after his birth. Instead, they gave a pair of birds. Medical care has always been wonky pricey. Consider the chronically bleeding woman who had spent all she had on years of doctoring before Jesus healed her with the touch of his robe for free. We know that Jesus' disciples kept an eye on the costs. Even the cheapest lunch for a crowd of 5,000 was more than they could afford, which made Jesus' miracle of fish and loaves so wonderful, both spiritually and materially. And I might also point out that at least two of his disciples were integrally related to money. Matthew was a tax collector, and Judas was the treasurer. I don't know about any of the others, but I do know those to be true. The Reformation began in the 1500s, largely because of money. Using corrupt church fundraising, church leaders were luring people to believe that money could pave the way for the good life, not only on earth, but also in eternity. And the bigger the gift to the treasury, the more heavenly goodies you earned. Martin Luther was aghast and protested that the buying and selling of spiritual gifts had no biblical basis. In fact, making money the basis of a person's value is the exact opposite of the gospel. We are eternally treasured because of the freely given love of Jesus Christ. In the centuries since, mainline Protestant teaching has arguably led to an opposite corruption, that of thinking that life in Christ was nothing to do with the use of our money and wealth. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist Church, would often ask his church members how their Christianity had affected their pocketbooks. Today, we might think about our credit cards, Venmo account, educational expenses, retirement accounts, wages we pay, gifts to friends, relatives, church and charitable giving. Where are our hearts? Really? Whom and what do we trust most deeply? Does our earthly treasure free us or separate us from our heavenly treasure? Given the deep spiritual significance of money and material wealth, as well as the ever lurking temptation to turn money and property, we are embarking on a 3-session study of money, stewardship, and generosity in the Bible. What treasures will we uncover? So it says buying and selling, accounting, even the sometimes unconscious lens of evaluating others as financially rich or poor are part of our everyday human experience. Be honest. How many times in the past 24 hours did you compare prices, pay bills, check balances, think about someone else's net worth, spend, buy, donate, or otherwise manage or think about money?
Today, not much, because I didn't. Today, I didn't.
What's one? Hot big one. Yes, what we said.
Yeah.
They're working on something.
Yeah. I think I did more today than I know.
Yeah.
Bill paying and some of those things.
Yes. Yes.
Ordering some stuff.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing how. But sometimes even just thinking about things like I was trying to think what it was. You know, like I have to get gas for the car. Well, they have it for $2.50.
Yeah.
They have it.
Yeah.
This is like, yeah. It's like, yeah.
Prices were down to.
Yes. It's amazing how much we spend time thinking about it.
Just going down the road and the difference in prices. And you go around the corner, you get gas here, go around the corner.
Yeah.
Oh. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear ya. Okay, well, let's see. I was going to say I wrote down some things. Oh, well, we can do this. I think we're okay. Are you guys in a huge hurry tonight? Because we can skip this next section and go to the last 2 sections if you want. I'll leave it up to you. We're for sure skipping the money troubles part. We can skip this part too if you want to, or we can. It's actually
where it goes, we go over the wealth and wisdom.
Yep. The wealth and wisdom is really good.
Let's go.
You want to go? Okay. Lauren said we're going. Okay, so we're moving on to page 15. So we're gonna read from 1 Kings 3, which is in the Old Testament.
So we're 7 Kings.
No, you need 1 Kings.
1 Kings 3.
Yes, 1 Kings 3,
5 to 14.
5 to 14. This is the story of Solomon.
While he was at Gibeon, the Lord appeared to him in a dream during the night. God said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon answered, "You were very kind to your servant, my father David. He obeyed you, and he was honest and was right. You showed great kindness to him when you allowed his son to be king after him. Lord my God, now you have made me, your servant, king in my father's place. But I am like a little child. I don't know how to do what must be done. I, your servant, am here among your chosen people, and there are too many of them to count. I ask that you give me an obedient heart so I can rule the people in the right way and will know the difference between right and wrong. Otherwise, it is impossible to rule this great people of yours." The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked this. So God said to him, "You did not ask for a long life or riches for yourself or the death of your enemies. Since you asked for wisdom to make the right decisions, I will do what you asked. I will give you wisdom and understanding that is greater than anyone has had in the past or will have in the future. I will also give you what you did not ask for, riches and honor. During your life, no other king will be great as you. If you follow me and obey my laws and commands, as your father David did, I will also give you a long life."
Okay. Alice, you want to go since I popped out for a moment?
The story of King Solomon, wealthy, wise, and awfully well connected, is the stuff of legend. Yet a careful reading of First Kings doesn't allow us hero worship. Solomon is presented as a real and really flawed character. In chapter 2, before our reading, Solomon is ruthless, even ordering the assassination of challengers to the throne as he consolidates power after his father David's death. He has made a marriage alliance with the daughter of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. From our contemporary understanding, surely strategically arranged marriages are another kind of slavery for women. Those of us who've read ahead will know that by chapter 11, Solomon is married to 700 wives and 300 concubines.
Wow.
In addition to all of that, Solomon has been worshiping at the highest places which are associated with the Canaanite fertility religions. Yet God is faithful even when humans aren't. God looks with unearned favor on this brash young king. God visits him in a dream and offers him a gift of his choice. When Solomon famously humbles himself, compares himself to a child, and asks for a discerning heart for management and administration of God's people, God is like a doting father, so pleased. God gives Solomon wisdom and riches and honor and promises him a long life if he will walk in God's ways. Here, wealth is presented as a good gift from God, but pointedly a lesser gift than that of a discerning heart.
So, our question, do you think there is a correlation between wealth and wisdom?
In some cases,
Well, some people are smart. They need wisdom. They need the wisdom to get the wealth. Or what do I want to say?
Well,
You got
keep
it.
it,
You got
but-
to,
or
to know how to invest it or whatever they're going to do with it.
how to use it
And
wisely.
how to use
Or
it.
how to use it wisely. Yeah. Or keep using it wisely.
Right.
Right,
Yeah. Or are they often opposed to each other?
It can be if you don't wisely use your wealth. I mean,
I mean, wisdom doesn't necessarily have to be a. How can I say?
Money related.
Well, no, I mean, no, I was thinking more of like, there are people who could be really wise, but they're not necessarily good people, and vice versa.
Mhm.
I mean, you can be really, really wise about things. Doesn't necessarily mean that
Know how to.
are going to be a good person. However,
Mhm.
I mean, I can think of a lot of people who are really wise about money, but they don't necessarily. It's all about the money for them.
Right.
Yeah, instead of
Or using it against others
yes,
too,
yes,
and
yes,
making other people's lives or others live a more difficult life because of what they
Yes.
can do with their wealth.
yeah. Can you think of some real people from history who had one but not the other, or those who had both? Yes, I always thought Abraham Lincoln was pretty wise. It felt like
Maybe when he donated his money for all the libraries and that.
And then when you bring up his name, then you'll watch like on TV, on YouTube or those shows, and they'll have all those people in the 1800s that were so wealthy in the United States, and their money was just all gone. I mean, it's gone.
They weren't wise.
They weren't wise.
yeah.
Some of them got it by cheating and not
Mhm.
doing the
Mhm.
nicest things, and so some of them decided they would pay it back. I think.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's hard to think of people who are wise. Well, maybe Mother Teresa. I actually think she came from a wealthy family, didn't she?
Yeah.
She
I
did.
think, but she was wise how she lived her life. she
Yes.
kind of gave up money to do it all.
Yes.
I think about the Gateses, Melinda Gates,
Yeah.
and those there's some of these people that have a goal of giving away as much of their money as they can.
Mhm.
They're always going to have plenty, but to give away as much as they can to something that's important.
So do we equate that with wisdom?
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's wise to think that you don't have to have
I think it's wise to
Billions.
recognize when enough is enough
when
to live.
enough,
Yeah.
and for us, when is enough is enough.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah,
really need that
that's it.
much to? Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I was thinking of Mary Jo Copeland. She was another one.
That's who I was just thinking.
She really, I mean, she actually came from a very wealthy family, but her dad was he was an alcoholic and very emotionally abusive, and she lived a very sheltered life. I mean, very sheltered. I mean, just yeah. But I always thought she was very wise about how she. I mean, as I was reading, I read her book this last year. Her biography. It's over there.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. I thought I gotta
It's over
get
there.
that. Read that.
It's real. It's an easy read too. It's really it's a wonderful read. But she just, I mean, she was basically an only child, and she married a guy like at age 18. The first guy she ever met, and went to prom together. She used to sneak out of the house to go see him. Her parents could. It's quite a story. And they got married, and she had. I'm trying to remember. Is it 12 kids? She had 12 kids in 14 years
Oh
or something.
gosh.
It's like, talk about Catholic. Like, holy cow. She had a lot of kids, and none of them were twins.
Well,
None of them were twins. And one was a special needs child. And, but she, having been such a sheltered child her whole life, about how she could have raised her kids that way, but she didn't. I mean, she raised them in a 2-bedroom house. I mean,
My
I
goodness.
mean, can you imagine 12 kids in a 2-bedroom? It's like, holy cow. and she ran the house like I mean, she had time for everybody. She was a stay-at-home mom. She took care of everybody. She made sure everybody got out the door to school, and that prepared her to start the ministry that she started in Minneapolis. I mean, as I was reading the book, I mean, to have, I mean, she had wisdom, but she also had like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, and her husband's going, we don't have the money, and she's like, we have to do this, and he's like, and she's going, but we have to do this. He's like, we don't have the money. It's like, I mean, it was just they were going back and forth, but she was very, very wise about knowing when to push and when to. I mean, when she tells the stories about how she would meet with these big wigs and like the guy that runs 3M and some of the other big corporations and stuff up there, you know, here she's dressed in her blue jeans and she's just come from working at the shelter and blah, and she's a very unassuming person. And they're like, and they're dressed in their suits and their ties and their big boardrooms and their huge ceilings and everything else. And she's just there. I thought to myself, wow, that took a lot of guts. But she was wise to do it.
She was passionate about
She
it.
was passionate about it. Yeah. And but she did it in a way that wasn't, it wasn't overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like in your face kind of stuff. It was just, no, this has to be done. You can't have people living on their streets. We can't. This is the greatest country in the world. We can't do this. So it's just, I find her to be very, very wise. Very wise. Okay, sorry. I got off on a tangent. My bad. Okay, so this next part is kind of cool. Marlene, you want to read this? These are excerpts from the Proverbs. We're on page 16.
I read.
Yeah, where it says read, she has a couple excerpts here.
A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. The blessings of the Lord makes rich. The lazy do not roast their game, but the diligent obtain precious wealth. The appetite of the lazy craves and gets nothing, while the appetite of the diligent is richly supplied. Anyone who tills the land will have plenty of bread, but one who follows worthless pursuits will have plenty of poverty.
You want to read that next little section?
While ascribed to Solomon, Proverbs is a collection of sayings handed down from a variety of sources. Most of the sayings express generally accepted bits of wisdom familiar to parents, teachers, and coaches trying to raise the next generation. Work hard and get ahead. Overall, the verses hold a positive view of wealth and possessions. And although we've just seen that Solomon's wealth was a gift from God, the Proverbs above suggest wealth is the result of nothing more than hard work. You can just hear Grandpa's tone here, right? Still, other verses in Proverbs present a more nuanced view of wealth and riches.
Pam, do you want to read the next one? Is that okay? Okay.
Some pretend to be rich, yet have nothing. Others pretend to be poor, yet have great wealth. Wealth hastily gotten will dwindle, but those who gather little by little will increase it. Wealth brings many friends, but the poor are left friendless. House and wealth are inherited from parents, but a prudent spouse is from the Lord. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. I saved my current favorite wealth proverb for last. Truthfully, it's more of a challenge verse, as I rein in my own desires to accumulate more, and more. Remove far from me falsehood and lying. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food that I need, lest I be full and deny you and say, "Who is the Lord?" Or I be poor and steal and profane the name of my God.
So, which, if any, of the above proverbs spoke to your heart? Or do you have other favorite sayings?
Oh, I think this one here. Wealth hastily gotten will dwindle, but those who gather little by little, sort of like trying to tell your kids save up for something.
Yeah,
You know,
save up for
just
Tuesday.
just don't think you have to have the first thing you see.
Yeah.
You know, save.
That's a good one. Penny saved is a penny earned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First ones that are all about being diligent,
Yeah.
right? It's like work hard,
Yeah.
do the right things, and yeah. But are riches necessarily wealth, or is it other things?
Yeah.
I feel like it's other things. Friendships that last a lifetime.
And kind of getting a work ethic. I think that's kind of getting a work ethic. And
Right.
Knowing people who can rely on you and you can rely on them. Yeah. Okay, so last little section here, Jesus and treasure. Marcia, read from Genesis back to the first book of the Bible. Genesis 13, yeah, verses 1 and 2, and then 5 to 7.
So Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into Negev. Now Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold.
5 through 7.
And Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support both of them dwelling together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. At that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land.
Okay, they were arguing. Do you want to read a little bit? Or
When I was little, my family would take Sunday afternoon drives in what we called the nicer neighborhoods. My dad would say, "This is where the Richies live." It took me a while to understand he wasn't talking about a particular family. Howie von Zilken and kids marveled at homes that were made of brick, had 2 stories and multiple bathrooms, or even gulp, a pool in the back. How proud and successful I felt decades later when my own growing family moved into a 2-story brick home with 2 bathrooms, but no pool. Like us, Jesus' understanding of what it means to be rich or poor and his attitude about money was framed by the family values he grew up with. Jesus grew up with a mom who greeted her unorthodox pregnancy with a song of delight, Magnificat, recognizing that it's the poor God pays attention to. It's the poor who are blessed. It's the empty handed and the little ones who really get what the treasure of God's kingdom is all about. While serving the church overseas, I lived for some years among those who were poor in every usual sense of the word, and yet in some ways they were rich. I'll never forget the rowdy celebration of dancing and feasting our family was invited to upon the completion of a brick church in the Central African Republic. In Cambodia, I heard the hoots of joy expressed by local leaders who had received a grant for building a public toilet in a place where nobody had a bathroom. It turns out that bricks and toilets can be part of a kingdom delight beyond what I once imagined as a child. Who knew? The poorest of the poor, that's who knew.
Yeah. Okay, Matthew 6. Hmm. This is part of the Beatitudes, I think, isn't it? 19 to 21. Oh, of course, it's on the page too. Okay. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That's very famous scripture, right?
We've heard that a lot of Novembers.
Yes. Jesus' famous teachings from the Sermon on the Mount align nicely with his mom's teaching on treasure. I'm sure she made do with an animal. She made do with an animal trough for her firstborn, and helped to lead her family when they were in danger of being unhoused in Bethlehem, and then traveled as refugees to Egypt. When the Holy Family finally returned with little or nothing to Nazareth, because really, how much can you carry when you have no vehicle, no bus seat, no check bags, no allowance? What happened to them? Had they had some of their belongings moldered in the years they were gone? Had the thatched roof caved in? Had thieves or opportunistic neighbors taken off with all the things of value? Together, Mary, Joseph, and little Jesus surely learned not to store up treasure on earth, but to focus on the gifts they carried with them wherever they went. Gifts like radical trust in the faithful God, relationships, neighbors, family, whether chosen or given, memories of comfort and joy, doors opened, promises kept. All these divine and material treasures were received and given along the way. So, what attitudes did you learn about money and treasure as you grew up?
I think you learn to save. Like we were talking before. You know, if you got birthday money or something, it was always, well, what are you going to save up for?
Were you taught to give some?
Yeah. Have your little handkerchief with your
Dime.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was in there. It was tied in their handkerchief.
That's well before my time.
Yeah.
Just a touch. Just a touch. I learned a lot about arguing about money from my parents. My parents argued about money all of the time, constantly. So I knew we didn't have.
Well, I never heard them argue about money, but I know there was a time when my mom was gravely ill, and she was going to die. I know my sister and brother went in to say goodbye to her, and I was like 5, so I was having fun at my cousins, staying with them, and that didn't have insurance. She was in the hospital for months. Things were, didn't have a lot of money. Things were pretty tight. But then the neighbors came in and helped harvest,
Because that's what
yeah,
people did.
because that's what people did.
That's what people did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I knew we didn't have a lot of my mom made all of our clothes and you know
Canned all the food. I mean, my
Yeah.
mom did a lot of canning.
yes, and the garden. The garden was
But we never
everything.
never went hungry.
Never went hungry.
No, we never did
went
either.
hungry.
Ate a lot of liver. Ate a lot of liver that year. Oh, the year that the price of beef went up so high, we ate a lot of liver. Oh, dude.
My mom and grandma made a lot of shirts for my brothers out of feed sacks.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was a lady that would
You
collect.
didn't waste anything.
No. Waste.
No.
No paper towels. You used your rags.
Mhm.
That was unheard of.
Right, yeah, you stop and think about that because I mean, I still have rags at my house, and I'm going,
Dude.
feed all of these rags, but I hate to,
Good
in the sky.
You get rid of them, then you
But there are times when you can only use a rag once, right? Right. And you use it once and then you can throw it away. Right? Yeah, no. But you don't waste it.
No.
You don't waste it. Yeah.
Jeans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God.
or darning socks. Darning socks. Because it's just what you did, right?
But we didn't have a lot. And my aunt and uncle, we were so gracious to have them, but they were giving people when I knew they didn't have a lot of excess money, but they helped out so many families. It was, sometimes we didn't even know until people came back to us and told us that they had been such a help to their families. So it was always that part was important, We
But I
always
think-
had plenty.
I know my parents taught me a lot about money just by watching what they did, listening, even when I'm sure they didn't think I was listening.
Yeah.
I kind of hope my kids learned the same thing from me. Sometimes I wonder. Okay. Okay. But I mean, they have to make their own choices and have their own way of life. But I like to think that other people see us as Christians and they think those are really giving people. They're willing to help people. They're willing to go a little extra. They're willing to, because you wonder, like the widow that gave her last coin, or the widow that made the bread for Elijah, right? When he told her to, and she was going to make the bread, and she and her boy were going to lay down and die.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow! I can't even imagine. It's like, holy cow! How poor they must have felt. Did they feel poor in spirit, or?
It's like a story I read. It was like in Appalachian Mountains, and this school was collecting food for families that needed it at Christmas time. And this family, they had apples, and so the children took apples to school. Well, lo and behold, there was a box sitting outside of their door that was being given to those families that were needy. And in the box were these apples, and the kids, I didn't know we were poor.
Yeah.
They had what they needed, and
Yeah.
they didn't realize that they were poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
by the Christmas time, there's 4 of us in our family. My folks would give us a game.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
each of us, I mean, I think we got some individual gifts, but we used to get a group gift. And
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
had to share and play that game and that. And we were
Yeah.
like, yeah. But yeah.
We used to do mission trips down to Agua Prieta when we were at Peace. We met up with a group from Kansas, and Agua Prieta is right across the border from Douglas, Arizona. And they used to build adobe brick houses. And there was a guy in Douglas that used to coordinate, It was kind of like a Habitat for Humanity thing. But it wasn't affiliated with Habitat. But he would kind of coordinate. The family had to have a place for their house, and then they had to do the finishing work on the house once the walls were up and the roof was. And we always thought it was important to take our kids down there because I think American kids don't appreciate everything they have.
They haven't a clue how the other
No,
side of the
no.
world
And
is.
I can remember the impression that it made on Chris the first time he went. He went numerous times, but the first time he went down there, he just stood there watching. Here's these kids out in the yard. I mean, they've got a. I can't remember. They didn't have a ball. They had something they were using for a ball, for a soccer ball, and they were kicking it all. I mean, they were having a ball. They were just running and playing and running and playing and running and playing. And he's like, "Mom, they don't know they're poor, do they?" They have no. They have no clue. I mean, they're just.
It's life as they know it.
That's their life. That's what they know for their life. That's they have what they have, and they were very grateful for their homes, the families that we helped. But then I can remember the next year that Chris went down, he got together with a couple of the other kids that were going because he was still in high school at the time, and he said we're going to buy all these kids ice cream because there was always an ice cream place nearby, and we would always go get ice cream. He says we're going to get ice cream for all the kids. So all the kids got together and they pooled all their money and they grabbed all the kids and they took them down and got them ice cream. And I thought, now that's
Yeah.
good boy.
Yeah.
And he did it without a parent saying you should do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did that on his own. He didn't do it because he did, but he wanted to do something for those kids. He wanted them to have something special. And I thought, oh, that was so sweet. So yeah, but I know Kim said the same thing when he'd been over to Tanzania. The same thing about these people walk for miles carrying jugs of water, and it's just their life. It's just the way it is. So when they actually had water pumped to their town, they only had to walk to downtown to get the water. So they only had to walk a half a mile instead of 5 miles. Can you imagine? I can't
Riding
even
your
imagine.
bike with those big things.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I know Darwin when he explained that, I thought, would we do this?
You would if you had to.
If you have to, but yeah, you have to.
You would if you wanted to.
When I was younger, I grew up, we lived in a place that we did not have running water.
Okay. My mom grew up in a
So
place that
I'm
had running
going,
water.
gosh, then the next place we had a bathroom, and I'm going, just appreciative that you have a bathroom with running water
Yeah.
and a toilet in it and
Yeah.
a shower in it. And some people have these big baths with all this. It's like a whole house.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So anyway. Yeah. So what's things to think about? We have our closing prayer happens to be Psalm 23, which I thought kind of appropriate. So, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Amen. So not too bad. We did it pretty good. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.